Welcome to the Teachers Talkin' podcast, hosted by Dustin Tatro and Ghazali Abdul Wahab. In this podcast, we discuss all things education and teaching, from innovative teaching methods to challenges to strategies and much, much more. In this discussion or roundtable-based podcast, we bring in educators from all around the world to talk about a variety of education topics so that we can support as many teachers as possible. We want this to be a place of inspiration, personal and professional development, and simply a place where we can elevate education together. Welcome to Teachers Talkin'. And welcome to another episode of Teachers Talkin'. I am Dustin, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, Ghazali, and today we have a very inspiring discussion lined up with a special guest. So we are thrilled to welcome Vani Pallavanraja, I'm going to say it right, Pallavanraja, a seasoned educator in ESL and business English to learners from more than 60 countries. She's also conducted over 150 mentoring sessions for online ESL educators and is a Cambridge certified trainer and a mentor teacher. And today's episode is titled Mentorship Matters, Elevating Teaching Through Supportive Relationships, where we're going to focus on answering the question, how can mentorship programs benefit both new and experienced teachers, and what are the key elements of an effective mentorship program? So before we dive into this discussion, Vani, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your experience with mentoring educators and what drives your passion for mentorship in the field of teaching?
Thank you so much, first of all, for inviting me into this episode. It's a pleasure joining you, Gazir and Dustin. Thank you so much. So as you see, I'm Vani Pallavanraja, but everyone calls me Vani. I'm based in India, a city called Puducherry, which lies on the east coast of South India. So it has some beautiful beaches. It's a famous tourist spot. Yeah. So since when I got into these ESL field, basically when I started as an online teacher. So it's completely online. I've never had a chance to work in the bricks and mortar setup, the classroom setup. So since then, it has been just online. I started with a company in Chile as a business English teacher. And then I also joined another company in Netherlands. And now I'm also working for British Council. So basically, I'm a freelancer. So I have my own availability for these companies. And that's how I've been working. And with this company that I joined first, I was observed by my mentor. And she was really impressed. So on a fine day, it was a great surprise for me, in fact, and she invited me and she just offered me, Vani, do you want to join the mentoring team? You are a great teacher. I want you to mentor other teachers in our team. So that was kind of an in-house training, basically. So I started mentoring my peers, basically. So all that I need to do was to observe their classes and give them feedback, basically positive feedback and some constructive feedbacks. And that's how it started. And when I posted this on my LinkedIn, and it just started growing in numbers, and I got other teachers approaching basically my LinkedIn contacts. So that's how I also started doing this as a freelancer, the private part of doing, apart from the company that I did. So I would say that was the best part of my teaching career, because I saw that, or I would say I realized that this is something I really enjoyed doing, and I got good feedback from the teachers for the way that I gave feedback. So that's how it just drew me into this. It wasn't planned, and I should thank my mentor, for pushing me into this, in fact. Yeah, that's how it all started.
Well, that's really interesting. You have a very varied background in different kinds of schools, and I think we have seen that different schools approach mentoring in different ways. And like I'm also in charge of mentoring in my school, so maybe we want to give our listeners some insights into why is mentoring so important especially in our field of education, and what role does it play in supporting teachers at various stages of their careers and development?
Definitely. That's a great question. As you mentioned, different schools, they have their own mentoring approach, and they have their own demands from teachers. So Coming to my area of expertise, I would say online teaching and especially business English. So the companies that I work for, so we basically deal with all adult learners. They're all corporate employees. So there are a lot of things that these online teachers need to be aware of. So because I joined at the time when it was pandemic, and a lot of teachers had to, it was like an overnight change for them. So they had to simply jump into the online mode of teaching with whatever they know already. And they were just learning things on the go. So we had to ensure that they are up to date with basic elements of the online teaching platforms, plus how they make their learners feel, because it was new for the learners as well. So starting from their internet connectivity, the quality of the call, to the way they dress, and also the way they engage learners online, because that was kind of challenging for teachers who had never taught online. So it was actually kind of challenging for them to kind of bring into those ideas and transition that from the real classrooms to online mode, how to keep the learners engaged. So these were the things that I had to observe when I was observing classrooms. And basically, I would say the top factors like learner engagement, and of course, TTT versus STT, and the results, and how much the learner is enjoying the lesson. So yeah, basically these factors.
So, Vani, what would you say are some of the key elements that make a mentorship program effective for both mentors and mentees?
Okay, that's another interesting question. So I want to start from the mentee part, because it always, it should be learner driven, right? Whether it is a classroom or even if it is a mentoring program, it should be learner driven. They should be interested in learning new things. So if the ego thing comes in there, that's going to be really, really difficult for the mentor as well as the mentee. For example, I have mentored teachers who have had experiences as equal as my age. In fact, they've been teachers for more than 30 and 40 years, but now they are new to the online platform. So the thing is, they have to be open to learning. It's not the number of years that's going to matter, it's the new things that they are going to learn. And we have something new every day. So people who are open to learning, it's really very easy to work with them. I would say the mentoring program would be definitely a success, because that's going to be very much learner driven. So they are asking for it and they want to get the most out of their mentor. So they are completely cooperative. So that's going to be like a piece of cake. Otherwise, the other elements, as you see, the thing is, they need to know the company's expectation from them. So as I said, I work for those business language schools. So the companies have their own expectations. They want their classrooms to be like this. They have their particular set of rubric. And when there are new teachers getting into the team, we'll have kind of repeated observations. Sometimes they feel, oh my God, am I going to be fired if I'm not doing well? So establishing that rapport and giving them the confidence that we are not going to fire you. It's part of the onboarding. We are going to see what you already know, and we are going to, kind of make you even better. So that's the whole idea of mentoring. It's not kind of do or die. I mean, nobody's going to fire you. Even if you have the worst of worst feedback, whatever it is, we are going to see whether you are learning and improving. So that's the main thing which the mentor has to convey to the mentee, and the mentee should also be kind of open-minded to, to learn things and adapt to the company's expectations.
I really appreciate, thinking from that other perspective on, how you need to be open to learning if you're going to accept mentorship in the first place, because that's absolutely, in my experience, been the first barrier to, teachers who are like stuck in their ways. Not being open to that mentorship is the first thing that damages, new learning. So
absolutely,
I know you're coming from a perspective of, teachers that are teaching for businesses, but when we think about that, as well as, schools and just educational institutions as a whole, how can they structure their mentorship programs to help ensure that they provide meaningful support?
So, for example, let me just, because that is something which I've been doing and I'm used to it. So we have the mentoring program part of their CPD programs. So that is how we convey it, that you will be observed, you will be mentored throughout the so let's say, because in the initial part, maybe the first 2 to 3 months they'll be observed repeatedly, and then maybe after the 6th month, and then after a year. So they have this idea already that they will be mentored. And we also convey that this is part of the CPD program. So they see this as they are, part of the development. So they have to develop as a teacher, as an online teacher, and then as a business English teacher. So this part has to be conveyed to the new teachers who are onboarding, and also to those experienced teachers, that there are a lot of updates happening with the company. There are a lot of things that are changing. So they need to be updated with those things. And now the mentoring is also helping them to learn new ideas or the new direction what the company is going for. So yeah, basically conveying this to the teachers will make it easier.
I hear you. That you also mentioned something about the experience level of the mentor-mentee. Have you ever come across this issue whereby the mentor is much younger than the mentee, and then the mentor has to give advice to the mentee? And if you have, what advice can you give?
Yeah, I've been through that, because as I said, I started during the pandemic. So there were a lot of teachers who had years and years, decades of experiences, and they shifted to the online mode. And yeah, I have encountered a couple of teachers like that. So as I said, they have this problem when they see a young mentor, and they see that, why are you giving me feedback, or what experience do you have to teach me how I should teach? That's where the ego part comes in. And that's absolutely normal. I mean, that's how our brain thinks, right? So that's why I mentioned earlier, it has to be the learner driven. So it has to be a demand from the teacher that she wants to learn new things. Never mind if it's a young teacher or something, because there are always fresh ideas to learn. So basically, when I had the mentoring session with her, I had to observe her class and then meet up with her. Basically, she had her own ideas. She was not following the curriculum, the syllabus given by the company. So she was kind of helping or over helping her learner, and they were completely off track. They were not following what the company wanted actually to do. So that's where I had to highlight that I totally understand you are trying to help your learner. Of course, that's why we are here as teachers. But please also remember, you are working for a company. So we have to abide by the rules, company's rules. So this is what the company is expecting from you. If the learner is demanding something else, you need to contact the academic team and tell them that the learner is not very much into these lessons that you have given us as the syllabus. He is asking me for something different. So you have to contact the academic department, because they are the ones who are designing the syllabus for each and every learner according to their company's demands. As I said, this is corporate training. So the learners are not individual clients, but their companies are the clients. So it's the demand from their company that they want this, and this for their employees. So that's what we have to deliver as a company. So to make her understand this, it was kind of challenging, because as I said, she had around 30 to 40 years of teaching experience. So when I told her this, that you are a great teacher, but when it comes to, if you do this as a private teacher, nobody's going to question you. You can do whatever you want to your learner. But when it comes to a company, we have certain things that we need to, it's like chasing the line, and you have to follow the footsteps of what we have been told to. So yeah, basically, I would say there are stages of feedback where I try to establish rapport with them, give them that confidence that I'm here to help them. It's not judgmental, it's developmental and part of the CPD program. So yeah, that's how I stage my feedback. And finally, I could kind of compromise her and get her to the point that what we are expecting from her.
Yes, I would assume that through this process also you will have some building of relationship, getting to know her
Absolutely.
better, getting closer to her, finding why is she doing the things that she's doing in the classroom, because sometimes they use it as a crutch. They know the materials better, so they think that they are serving the client,
Exactly.
the students better by using it. Yeah, so I guess then you will have to maneuver and around all these obstacles and get her to see the company's viewpoint. So what other challenges do you face in mentoring ESL educators, and how do you address them?
So the other, I wouldn't say challenge, because that is something which happens with almost all teachers. Initially, they have problems with their TTT. So I see the teachers speaking a lot in class. So during the feed, because I first observe the classes and then we have kind of 30-minute one-to-one feedback meeting. So during the meeting, I give them ideas, and I usually pick some examples from their instructions or maybe the way they explain things. So I pick examples from that. I have small portions of recordings, because we are not allowed to record the sessions. But the thing is, we can just record the audio part. So yes, basically, as their corporate employees, due to privacy and things like that, we are not allowed to record the session. But what I do is I just record the teacher's audio part to give them an idea of their instruction. So just a small clip, 1 or 2 examples of their instruction, or sometimes when students ask doubts and how the teacher, whether she's eliciting, whether she's using CCQs or she's directly jumping in to explain. I just catch those points and give them an example of, this is what you did in class. Do you think, is there any other way of doing this where you can reduce your TTT? That's how I try to elicit from them. Sometimes they understand, and sometimes they think, no, my learner doesn't know anything about this. Now, how can I use CCQs? So I started explaining and giving the definitions. Did that help your learner? So yeah, basically I ask them questions, I try to elicit from them, and I see what is difficult and what is easy for them. And I then give them some examples and ideas. And I've also given them tips where they can analyze themselves. For example, just like this recording part, I've told them, okay, you keep your mobile phone with your recorder on near you and just record your session. And let's say after the session or whenever you have time, go over the entire recording. See how much you have been speaking throughout the session. Make notes and see what are the things that you can cut short. Let it be a question, even if it is a CCQ, that's not going to be extremely long. So whatever it is, see how you can shrink things and reduce your TTT. And then we have the follow-up meetings where they come, yes, Vani, you gave that was a great idea. I mean, I really liked it. So I did this is my analysis, and this is how I found out the way for it. So that's how they come back. And when they realize it themselves, when they kind of the aha moment, they understand, okay, what Vani told that day was right. So this is what is happening. And then they realize, yes, I think when I see my learner being quiet, I feel that I should fill in that silence. That's how they jump in, and that shoots their TTT. So when they realize this point and they have that kind of self-awareness, that really helps the feedback sessions.
Can you tell us, first of all, I think you've mentioned a couple of times TTT. Can you tell us what that stands for?
The teacher talk time.
I was wondering, and I was like, hey, it's our podcast.
Yeah, actually, oh yeah, that's a good coincidence. Yeah, basically, when it comes to an ESL classroom, this is a very important factor. The TTT has to be low, and the student talk time (STT) should be higher. That's how we want the ESL classrooms to be, because it's their space. They have to speak, and that's what I insist teachers as well. Now, you are a great teacher. You speak really well. That's why you are here as a teacher. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you should be talking throughout the session. It's your learner space. You just have to facilitate them and push them out of their comfort zone so they start speaking and they feel comfortable with speaking. So yeah, TTT versus STT. That's something that I've been doing all my, the career part of thing.
Yeah,
that's something that I always look for.
I love that. I love that. So can you share some success stories from your mentoring experience that can maybe highlight the impact that mentorship has had on a teacher's career?
Definitely. So this is one of the examples that I said. I spot the TTT part of the teachers where they can actually reduce it and encourage learners to speak more. So their class is more of learner-centered. And one of the teachers that I mentored, so she had problem with TTT because she was kind of jumping in to answer, and also kind of the use of CCQs. So basically, when there is a doubt or a question from the learner, sometimes they jump in to give explanation about the topic, whatever they're asking for. Instead, they can also check if the learner knows something to just activate the schemata, or just to have an idea if the learner remembers something from the previous session, if the topic is connected to the previous session or something like that. So that really helped, and I could see a lot of difference in the second session that I observed. There was a lot of difference. So I could understand that this teacher is really open for learning, and she's adapting things as she understood it. Basically, that's where it lies. So she exactly got the point what I was helping her with, and she put in those ideas and she came up with her own style. So that's where the thing lies. I don't want to push or pressurize them with my style. I want them to come up with their style and the way it suits their learner, their classroom. So whatever that makes them and the learner comfortable. So she really came up with some great ideas where she was asking a lot of questions to the learner, and that was a very low level learner. So she was also kind of conscious that she should not use too much of L1 in class, and she wanted the learner to encourage learner to be encouraged to speak in English. So all these factors were mentioned as constructive feedback items in the previous session, and in the next session she showed great improvement, and she kind of, it was flawless. I would say you are great, just do the same, follow the same things. And you won't believe me, in a year she also was selected to join the mentoring team. So she was kind of promoted again from that stage. So she has been very grateful for that, and she was like, Vani, you observed my class and then you trained me, and now I am part of your team. So that's something where she sees herself on her career ladder. So that was a great experience working with her.
That's really beautiful, and I think it speaks to the type of impact that mentorship can have, to help people feel good about the work that they're doing, as well as advance in their careers. So again, I know you're coming from a perspective of working with adult learners, working with teachers who are teaching other adults. But I'm curious if you can tell us how you think mentorship programs can contribute to teacher retention and professional growth, especially because when we're talking about traditional teaching in elementary, middle, high school levels, we're seeing such a high turnover rate, especially in areas like English language learning. So I'm just curious if you could tell us a little bit about how you think mentorship can help with that retention as well as that professional growth.
Definitely. Mentorship, as I said, it's part of their development. So it has to be seen as a CPD offered by the schools or the companies that they work for. So no matter if it is an adult's classroom or if it is kids or teens or whatever, teachers should be mentored and teachers should receive feedback. So it's two things. For example, the feedback from the learners as well as feedback from the authority, be it the school or the senior teachers or whatever. There should be two sides of feedback received for a teacher. So as a company, we would always prioritize the learner's side of feedback as well, because we want the learner to be happy. At the same time, the parallel side of things, so the admin side and how the teacher is coping up with the company's rubrics and things like that. So there are two ways that teacher is observed. So coming to your point of how they can see this as a part of their development. So basically there are ideas, different types of mentoring programs. For example, it could be from a senior teacher or a mentor, or it can be also peer observations and sharing ideas. They can have their own groups, for example, the teacher groups, activity groups that we say, TAGs. So in schools, for example, a small meeting, let's say once in a week, kind of where they can give updates about their own classrooms and challenges, or if there is something new that they tried in their classroom which really worked out well. So something that the learners enjoyed. So because they'll be kind of sharing the same syllabus. Let's say if they're working for grade 6 or grade 7, grade 8, whatever, they'll be having same kind of syllabus. So if they find something that they tried new in their class and that really worked well and the learners enjoyed, so they can share these tips with other teachers. So we can grow when we share, learn, share. It's like taking and giving it back to the community. So you learn something new, you try it out, and you share that experience, whether it is successful or not. So you can give it as a good example, or you can also give it as a bad example, because You can learn a lot from things that you have actually flopped. Mistakes teach you better than things that really works well, right? So they can share these things where that can also be kind of a caution. Okay, I did this, it was a complete flop, so don't try this in your class. So that can also help other teachers. So sharing and giving it back with each other, basically the peer kind of feedback or sharing learning. So that will be really helpful when it comes to schools mainly. And feedback can also be teacher driven. Instead of the authority telling that you should be observed or you have to attend a mentoring program, the teachers can also go forward. It can be driven from the teacher as well. I want to be observed, or I want to learn something new. So they can also drive it. That also really helps.
Yes, that's something that's very interesting because mentoring doesn't have to be just one way. So the teacher can also be the one who takes agency and decides. But I'm wondering, is it flexible for where you are at? That means, can they pick and choose who they want to be their mentor?
It depends. I mean, in my company, we don't have that option because it's completely, as I said, it's freelancing. So it depends on the mentor's availability. So they have their particular time slots when they're available. So there are a lot of factors. But when it comes to regular schools or universities, I've heard from my contacts that they have such discussions in their teachers' room or something like that, where they discuss with other teachers and they invite them to observe their classes. It's like they just join the class, sit at the back of the classroom, among the last bench or something like that, and they observe. And of course, they can also have kind of pre-mentoring session where they discuss what are their challenges or what they want to be observed and what kind of ideas they are looking for. So they decide what is needed, what they know already, and what they want to learn. And then accordingly, they mainly observe those factors in the class. And these teachers can give their feedback and share experiences, and that's how they can share, grow.
So, I'm interested to know what advice would you give to teachers who are new to mentorship? Because you mentioned that there were some teachers who suddenly got promoted to become a mentor. So, what advice would you give them as a colleague who are new to mentorship? And also, what about the mentees? What advice would you give to the mentees when they are just starting out on this mentorship journey?
So let me start with the mentees first. If they are new to the mentoring program, and if they are new to this complete, the company as well as mentoring, if everything is new, I would say they have to be completely open-minded and just absorb as much as they can. So it's like meeting every person, or I would say they have to make use of that opportunity. So they are now in a completely new environment. So they have new colleagues, new bosses, or new learners. So everything is new around them. So they can make use of this mentoring program as a safe step to go ahead. So they have to make use of this. And perhaps if they have a chance, they can meet the mentor even before being observed about how they feel about it. Building the rapport is the main thing. They have to feel comfortable first. When you have kind of a stranger sitting into a classroom and observing your class, it's something that annoys the teacher, or sometimes the teachers get kind of anxious, or they actually do not perform how they would usually perform. So they have to be super comfortable with this mentor. So even before being observed, I would say having a private chat with the mentor and building that rapport and feeling comfortable with the mentor is really important before being observed. So establishing a relationship is the key, and then go for observing and getting feedback. And when it comes to a new mentor, it's again the other side of mentorship. So they have to first gain the trust of their mentee. The mentee has to believe them that, okay, I'm going to learn something new from my mentor, or this mentor is going to help me progress in my career, or she's going to help me work better in this environment. So she has to get that kind of confidence. So the mentors are responsible for that. So they have to first establish a good rapport with their mentee and be open-minded. So tell them what is expected from the mentorship, why they are here to mentor them, and what is going to be the end result of this mentorship program, and how that is going to benefit them. So when they are driven with these ideas, they have now clear things in their mind. So they know what is expected, so that there is no secrets. I mean, they're not afraid of anything, or they're not kind of overcautious of things when they are in the classroom. So keeping things transparent would really help.
This has been a really great conversation, and really appreciate you coming in and talking to us about mentorship, especially from a new kind of perspective. But I think that even from the perspective that you're coming from, it's, no different than what we see with mentorship in schools. And it speaks to, how important mentorship is and can be for some people. Vani, is there anything else that we haven't discussed that you would like to add, regarding the importance of mentorship in education, or, any of your personal experiences with it?
Yeah, definitely. I would say no man is perfect. So there is always something new to learn, and there is always room for improvement. So being open to learning is something that keeps you growing and growing. So whether your company is giving you such CPD programs of mentoring or not, try to find mentors. For example, you can have your private mentor, or you can ask your peers to mentor you. Mentoring is nothing where you need a specialist to come from outside. It can be someone who is also working with you, who might have another perspective. So people will have their own perspectives. So talking to different people and knowing about their own perspectives will give a whole new knowledge about things that you've never thought about. So basically being open to learning and believing that what you know is little and you have to learn even more. So that kind of mindset will help you learn new things and network with new people and learn something new from everyone that you meet. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Ghazali, do you have any final words before we close out today?
Yes, definitely. Because being a mentor myself, I have to chip in. We have been discussing about this mentor-mentee relationship. I would also like to add that it is a two-way learning. It is not just the mentor benefiting the mentee, or the mentee learning from the mentor. Because the mentorship benefits both ways. While the mentees gain from their mentor's experience, the mentors often find the relationship equally enriching. And they gain fresh perspective. I've gained fresh perspective. I've learned to stay connected with emerging trends, and to develop
that's good. That's true. Something, I mean, I'm just picking up from what you said, because I have seen some new ideas from when I observe other teachers' classes, and I mentioned that during the feedback meeting. Okay, I saw you doing this. I saw you using this tool. That was amazing. So what was that? I would like to steal your idea. I'm going to use this in my classes. So when I appreciate them for their new ideas, they also feel confident, and they're happy when I tell them. So that's how the relationship builds. And yes, I have picked a lot of new knowledge from my mentees as well. It has been a very enriching experience. Yeah.
That's right. And I think this reciprocal learning creates a dynamic relationship that keeps both parties engaged and growing. And it benefits the school, the organization as well.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Happy teachers, happy learners, and happy business indeed.
Yeah. And I agree with all that. And I think the other kicker to all of it is what happens when you have a mentor who's not confident in being a mentor, because that's actually something that I have also experienced, where I've been on that end where I am the younger mentor and my mentees are older. And I've had that, but I've also had the experience where I am the older mentee and my mentor was not confident in coaching me. And so like that dynamic can really change. And so I think I'll close on that push for all those people who are mentors out there to say, like, you're a mentor for a reason. And there is always new learning that can take place. And if you have a mentee, like I was an older mentee who was very much like, give me feedback, be in my classroom. Like I am not above anybody else, even though I've also been a mentor, right? Like I still want it. I can still learn and get better. But if that person who was mentoring me was like not comfortable in delivering that back, she did not come to my classroom. Like she didn't know. And so she was constantly asking me like, what do you need? And I'm like, your job is to tell me what I need. Like I can be reflective, but I need somebody who's going to push me to be better too. And so be confident. If you're a mentor out there and you are mentoring people who are older than you, do not be discouraged by the fact that they're older. Yes, they have some different experiences than you have, but you also have different experiences than they have, and you have something that you can offer that's valuable to them. And so if they're open to that mentorship, you need to be open to mentoring them. Because I do think that learning does go both ways. And I really love that, man. I think I've learned, even when I was just teaching and I was with kids, I learned so much from kids. So I think that's another thing, is like that reciprocal relationship between a mentor and mentee, or between a teacher and students. If we are always open to learning, then we're always going to find new things that we can apply to our lives, that we can apply to our mentorship, that we can apply to our teaching. And I steal ideas from other teachers all the time. And I agree, Vani, like that.
That's the best part of it, I would say.
Yeah. So this has been really wonderful. Thank you so much for being here with us. I think we've got 3 people here who are all mentors, and we all love that role. And I think that's, for everyone who's listening, you're also a mentor, right? Like, whether you're mentoring other adults or whether you're teaching children, you're mentoring them. And so this is just an important conversation always to be having. So thank you for being here with us, Ghazali. Thank you, listeners.
Thank you so much for inviting, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
And so, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in and engaging with our topic today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, review, share the podcast. We have new episodes every other Monday. And if you are interested in being a guest on Teachers Talkin', you do not need to be an expert in anything. You just need to be passionate about education and something you want to talk about. And come on in and join us on the discussion. You can find the form to sign up in our show notes. Vani, once again, just thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. And listeners, implement these mentorship practices in your teaching communities as well. So
thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you next time.